Hello and welcome to our wonderful university. You may be wondering, what does it stand for? It stands for Wonderful, Intelligent, Zealous Acolytes that Wreak Havoc and Destruction. As you can tell, it's called wizards. As you've seen, there are many, many different types of wizards that have roamed these streets, from divination to illusions to maybe even necromancy. If you see yourself bending the magical wills to your own will, come on down to Wizards and get your own spell book today.
Howdy, hi, and hello. I'm Noah. It didn't really tell you much what you're actually going to be getting into. I guess I'll do that myself. Howdy, hi, and hello. I am Noah from Noah's Nest. If you don't know me by now, I will be going through each of the classes, all the way from Barbarian to Alchemist, giving you a quick rundown of what each and every class does, going through all the levels and subclasses, and then giving my own opinion to new players or even veterans that haven't even tried a new class yet. Today, as you heard from the beginning, is the Wizard. This is where you are going to take on a nice long robe, a staff, a spell book, and start learning as many spells as possible. You have learned many different spells from either adventuring, found some scrolls in your library, or even just read a bunch of books in the library. You have learned your way through casting magic. You may have been a scholar in the past, you might have learned your ways around gods, magic from all different types. Pretty much you have learned everything that you can to now be able to cast spells from a spell book. So, as usual, I will go through all of the levels 1 through 20, talk about all of the different traditions, aka subclasses, and then I'll do my quick rundown. First and foremost, you get spellcasting. You get to learn a bunch of spells. They are probably more powerful than any others. You get more attack spells because you will be focusing on, as I said many times, spells. You get your very own spell book that can hold all of your spells that you have learned. You can copy spells into this spell book from scrolls or other books. It takes time and money to copy them, depending on what level it is. But once you have a spell in your spell book, it'll never go away. You can change the appearance, you can replace a book if it ever gets destroyed, and it will be all back to normal. Also at first level, you get Arcane Recovery. This is whenever you are so spent on spells and you just need something back real quick, you can take a short rest to expend spell slots to recover. It depends on what level you are, but you can gain spell slots back of a combined level that is equal to or less than half of your wizard level rounded up. And also you can't get any spell slots higher than 6th or 6th. So 5th or lower you can get. And what it means by spell slots of a combined level, let's say you are 4th level, you can recover up to 2 spells up to level 2. So you can either recover a 2nd level spell slot or 2 level 1 spell slots. At 2nd level you get Arcane Tradition. This is where you get to actually choose one of your schools of magic or the different traditions to further expend your knowledge in magic. At 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th level, you get your ability score improvement. This is where you can increase one ability score by 2 or 2 ability scores by 1, and they can't exceed over 20 as usual. But if you want to switch it up, you can choose a feat instead of using one of those. Then we're going to do a massive jump to 18th level. This is where you can choose a 1st level wizard spell and a 2nd level wizard spell in your spell book. Those at the very lowest level will not expend a spell slot. when you prepare them. If you cast them any higher than that, their original spell level, you'll have to expend a spell slot as normal. And if you want to change them, you'll have to spend 8 hours to change them to a different spell of those levels. And lastly, level 20, you get signature spells. You gain mastery over 2 powerful spells and can cast them with little effort. You can choose 2 third level wizard spells in your spellbook as your signature spells. They will not count against the number of spells that you prepare, and you can cast them each one time at third level without expending a spell slot. After you use those spells, you cannot do it again until you finish a short or long rest. But if you want to cast them at a higher level, you will have to use those spell slots. That is it for the main class. Now on to the optional class features. At level 1 is the additional wizard spells. This is all of the spells from Tasha's Cauldron and Xanathar's Guide, as you can pick and choose. And next is cantrip formulas. This is when, after you finish a long rest, you can replace one of your wizard cantrips that you know to another one from the wizard spell list. And that's it for the optional class features. Now on to the different traditions of the wizard. First one is blade singing. This is one of my favorite wizard subclasses. This is where you are a master of spells and blades. You know your way around slinging spells, and you can handle yourself with a blade. And you kind of focus your spellcasting through your blade. Throughout this subclass, you'll be able to gain proficiencies in different types of armor and different melee weapons, performance skills. You'll be able to go through a thing called a blade song. This is where you'll be able to gain a higher AC, a walking speed, advantage on acrobatics checks, and a bonus to any constitution that can concentrate on a spell. You pretty much go into a whole magical enhancing mode where you can cast spells fairly well and keep it concentrated while being upfront, dodging a lot of attacks and dealing a lot. You'll also be able to gain an extra attack. You could use your reaction to expend a spell slot and reduce damage, or you can even add your intelligence modifier to all of your melee weapon attacks. Next is Order of the Scribes. This is where you're focusing more on your book, or your quill, your actual learning wise of spells. Throughout this subclass, you'll be able to create quills that don't require ink. You can copy spells with it with pretty much a free hand, and you can also erase anything with your quill as an action. You'll also be able to have an awakened spell book. So your spellcasting focus will be your book. You can temporarily replace damage types from different spells into a certain spell. So if you want to cast a fireball, you can change the spell damage type to like a lightning ball. And if you would cast a ritual spell, you can make it be normal casting rather than the 10 additional minutes. Also, while you have your book, you can use a bonus action where you can kind of create an echolocation, causing a bunch of tiny spectral objects to kind of help you see or hear farther into the darkness. You can telepathically share anything that you can see within 60 feet. If you are ever 300 feet away from those tiny spectral objects, or if someone casts a spell magic, if your awakened spellbook is destroyed, or if you die, you lose concentration to those tiny helpers. Also, further down the line, you'll be able to touch your spellbook and cause one of your spells from your spellbook to be copied onto a scroll. It has to be a first or second level, and it has to have a cast time of 1 action. You can use it as different treasures, you can sell it for gold, however you would like. And lastly, you'll have advantage on all intelligence checks, as your spellbook is able to remember different types of magical lore. Also, if you would take damage while you still have your spellbook manifested, you can prevent all the damage as a reaction by using its magic to save yourself. You will then have to roll 3d6. The spellbook will temporarily lose spells of your choice that have a combined spell level equal to that roll or higher. So if you happen to roll a 9, spells vanish from the book that have a combined level of at least 9. So that could be a 9th level spell, 3 3rd levels, and different other combinations. Until you finish a d6 long rest, you are incapable of casting the lost spells. If you find them on a scroll or another spellbook, even if you find them on a scroll or another spellbook. After you finish all of those long rests, all the spells reappear in your spellbook. Next is School of Aberration. This is the subclass that emphasizes of magic that blocks attacks, protects your allies, or maybe even banishes enemies. Think of like an exorcist that is banishing demons or devils from locations. You'll be able to use less time and gold to copy aberration spells in your book. If you would ever cast an aberration spell of 1st level or higher, you can simultaneously create a magical ward on someone. The ward has a hit point equal to the maximum of twice your wizard level plus your intelligence modifier. If you would take that damage, the ward would take it instead. If you would ever see a creature that's within 30 feet of you that takes damage, you can use your reaction to use that ward to absorb that damage for your ally. If the damage reduces it to 0, the warded creature takes any more damage. If you have an aberration spell that requires you to make an ability check as part of casting the spell, like a counter spell or a dispel magic, you get to add your proficiency bonus to the ability check. And lastly, you'll have advantage on saving throws against spells. Also, you'll have resistance against the damage of spells. Next is a School of Conjuration. This focuses on actually creating different animate objects, different creatures out of thin air, maybe creating a massive cloud that can actually kill someone by inhaling it, so on and so forth. It'll take less time and gold for you to copy conjuration spells into your spellbook. You can use an action to create / conjure an inanimate object in your hand or on the ground, but the object will disappear after an hour, or when you use the feature again, or if it takes damage or deals any damage. You'll also be able to teleport up to 30 feet away, or can teleport 30 feet into an unoccupied space, but you'll also be able to swap places with a small or medium creature as long as the creature is willing. You won't be able to use the feature again unless you finish a long rest, or if you cast a conjuration spell of 1st level or higher. Also, While you concentrate on a conjuration spell, it can't be broken by taking damage, and if any creature that you summon or create with a conjuration spell, it will have an additional 30 temporary hit points. Next is School of Divination. This is more of trying to understand or see the past, present, and future, maybe alter it a little bit. So, less time and gold to copy divination spells. You'll be able to roll, after you finish a long rest, you'll be able to roll 2d20s and keep those numbers. You can then use those numbers to replace any attack roll, saving throw, ability check by you or creature that you see with one of those rolls that you rolled before. You must choose to do so before the roll happens, and you can replace the roll in this way only once per turn. Each of the different rolls can only be used once, and whenever you finish a long rest, you lose any unused rolls. Further down the line, whenever you cast a divination spell of 2nd level or higher using a spell slot, you can regain one expended spell slot. The spell slot must be of a level lower than a spell that you cast, but it can't be any higher than level 5. Next, you'll be able to use an action to increase your power, so this benefits you until you are incapacitated or take a short or long rest. You'll be able to gain dark vision, you'll be able to also gain ethereal sight, greater comprehension, and you'll be able to also see invisibility, see invisible creatures. And lastly, you'll be able to roll 3d20s instead of just 2 to alter time. Next is School of Enchantment. This is where you want to bolster up your weapons, bolster up your allies, so that they can deal more damage to protect themselves while they are in battle, or enhance their intelligence in some way. Gold and time that you spend to copy an enchantment spell, and your spellbook is halved. You can use an action to choose a creature that's within 5 feet of you. They have to see and hear you, and must succeed a wisdom saving throw or become charmed. Also, you can use your reaction to divert an attack that is attacking another creature that is within a 30 feet range. They will have to succeed a wisdom saving throw. On a fail, the attacker must target the creature that is closest to it, that is not including you or yourself, or itself. But creatures that can't be charmed are immune to this effect. Whenever you would cast an enchantment spell at 1st level or higher that targets only one creature, you can make it target a 2nd creature as well. And lastly, in this subclass, whenever you would cast an enchantment spell to charm one or more creatures, you can alter one of the creature's understandings so it remains unaware of being charmed. Also, once the spell is over, you can use your action to try and make the chosen creature forget that they have been charmed. They have to succeed on an intelligence saving throw, but if they fail, they will forget that they were ever charmed. Next is School of Evocation. This is where you are honing in on more of the elemental types of damage. Maybe even the roaring winds, the crackling of thunder and lightning, maybe even the bubbling and burning of acid. Golden time will be halved when you try and copy an evocation spell into your spell book. Whenever you would cast an evocation spell that affects other creatures that you can see, you can choose a number of them equal to 1 plus the spell's level, and those chosen creatures automatically succeed their saving throw and take no damage. Whenever a creature succeeds on a saving throw against your cantrip, they will actually take half damage instead of just taking none if they do not have that ability. You'll be able to also add your intelligence modifier to one of your damage wizard invocation spells that you can cast, And whenever you cast a wizard spell of 1st level through 5th that deals damage, you can maximize that damage with that spell. The first time you would do so, you wouldn't suffer any effects, but if you would use this feature again before you would finish a long rest, you would take an additional 2d12 necrotic damage for each level of the spell, immediately after you cast it. Each time you use it, each time that you use it again before finishing a long rest, the necrotic damage per spell level increases by a d12. And the damage ignores resistances and immunities. Next is School of Illusion. This is where you're trying to alter minds, trick commoners, weasel your way around maybe the Thieves Guild, just trick your way around. Golden time are cut in half whenever you're copying an illusion spell. You'll gain the minor illusion cantrip, and whenever you cast it, you can create a sound and an image with a single cast of the spell. Whenever you would cast an illusion spell that has a duration of a minute or longer, you can use your action to change the nature of the illusion, provided that you can see the illusion. You'll be able to create an illusion duplicate of yourself as an instant, where if a creature would make an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to create the illusionary duplicate, where the attacker will automatically miss and then your illusion will dissipate. The feature won't come back until you finish a short or long rest. And lastly, whenever you would cast an illusion spell of 1st level or higher, you can choose an inanimate, non-magical object that is part of the illusion and make that object come to life. You can do it on your turn as a bonus action while the spell is continuously going. The object remains there for a minute. For example, if you create a bridge over a chasm, it'll then make it real long enough for your allies to cross. The object can't deal any damage or otherwise harm anyone else. Next is School of Necromancy. This is where you are focusing on life and death and the undead, bringing back people from the dead, killing them so they have no life left. Golden time are cut in half anytime you would copy a necromancy spell into your spellbook. Once per turn, whenever you kill one or more creatures with a spell of 1st level or higher, you regain hit points equal to twice the spell's level, or 3 times if the spell belongs to a school of necromancy. Animate Dead will be put into your spellbook if it's not already, and whenever you would cast Animate Dead, you can target one additional corpse or a pile of bones to create another zombie or skeleton. Whenever you would create an undead using a necromancy spell, the creature's hit point maximum is increased by an amount equal to your wizard level, and the creatures add your proficiency bonus to weapon attack rolls. You'll also be able to gain resistance to necrotic damage, and your hit point maximum can't be reduced by any means from necromancy. And as an action, you can choose an undead that you can see within 60 feet of you. They must make a charisma saving throw. If it succeeds, you can't use it again, but if it fails, that undead becomes friendly to you and obeys your command until you use the feature again. Intelligent undead are harder to control. If the target has an intelligence of 8 or higher, it has advantage. If it fails the saving throw and it has an intelligence of 12 or higher, it can repeat the saving throw until the end of every hour it succeeds or breaks free. Next is School of Transmission. That's a car part. Next is School of Transmutation. This is where you're modifying and altering energy and matter. Wielding raw stuff from creation to twist it into either a more physical form or make it more malleable. Golden time for transmutation spells are cut in half. You can temporarily alter a physical property. You can perform an alchemy procedure on an object that can be made out of entirely of wood, stone, iron, copper, or silver, transforming it into a different one of those materials. For each 10 minutes you spend performing this procedure, you can transform up to 1 cubic foot of material. After an hour, or until you lose concentration, it reverts back to its original material. Further down the line, you can spend 8 hours creating a transmutator stone, where while you have it in your possession, you'll be able to gain dark vision, your speed will increase, you'll have proficiency in your constitution saving throws, and you'll be able to be resistant to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. You get to choose whenever you create the stone. Each time you would cast a transmutation spell of first level or higher, you can change the effect of the stone if the stone is on your person. If you would create a new one, the previous one does not work anymore. Polymorph will go into your spell book, and if you would you'll be able to cast it without expending a spell slot. Whenever you do so, you can target yourself and transform yourself into a beast with a challenge rating 1 or lower. Once you do so, once you cast Polymorph in that way, you can't do it again until you finish a short or long rest. But you'll still be able to use Polymorph normally by using open spell slots. And lastly, you can use an action to consume the transmutation stone. You get to choose one of the following benefits. Your stone will be destroyed, but one of these effects will happen. Major transformation. You can transmute one non-magical object into another non-magical object of the same size and mass. It must spend 10 minutes handling the object to transform it. Panacea. You'll get to remove all curses, diseases, and poisons that are affecting a creature that you touch with the stone. And the creature will also regain all of its hit points back. Restore life. You can cast Raise Dead on a creature you touch with the stone. It won't use a spell slot or need to have the spell in your spellbook. And lastly, Restore Youth. You can touch the transmutator stone to a willing creature. Its age will be reduced by 3d10 with a minimum of 13 years, and the effect doesn't extend the creature's lifespan. Next is War Magic. This is where you are focusing on more attack spells, more spells that hurt. Whenever you are hit by an attack or fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to gain a +2 to your AC against the attack or a +4 to your saving throw. Whenever you use this feature, you can't cast any spells or other cantrips until the end of your next turn. You can give yourself a bonus to your initiative roll, equal to your intelligence modifier. Whenever you would successfully end a spell of a dispel magic or counterspell, you gain a power surge as you steal the magic from it. Once per turn, whenever you deal damage to a creature or an object with a wizard spell, you can use one of your power surges to deal extra force damage. That extra damage equals to half of your wizard spell. While you maintain concentration on its spell, you'll also have a +2 bonus to your AC and to all saving throws. And whenever you use your Arcane Deflection, which is the first ability, you can cause magical energy to arc from you. So up to 3 creatures of your choice that you see within 60 feet, each take force damage equal to half of your wizard spell. Next is Chronology Magic. This was by Critical Role Team. It lets you alter the pace of reality to your liking. They can maybe bend the flow of time a little bit to maybe be more skilled in an instrument, maybe helping their allies get into a better advantage spot in a matter of seconds. As a reaction, you or a creature of your choice that you see within 30 feet can make an attack roll or an ability check or a saving throw. You can force them to re-roll. You can use it twice. They have to take the second roll, and you don't regain any of them until you finish a long rest. You'll gain an intelligence modifier to your initiative rolls. Whenever you would use an action, you can force a large or smaller creature to make a Constitution saving throw. Unless they succeed, the creature is encased in a magical field where they will be technically incapacitated and their speed will be 0. You can only use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. Whenever you would cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th level or lower, you can cause the spell to be frozen in time for a moment and be held in a gray bead for up to an hour. The bead has an AC of 15 and 1 hit point. It is immune to poison and psychic damage, and at the end of its duration, or if the bead is destroyed, it vanishes into a flash of light and the spell is lost. If a creature is holding the bead, they can use an action to release it. The spell uses your spell attack bonus and saving DC. Lastly, whenever you or creature you see within 60 feet of you make an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can use your reaction to ignore the die roll and decide whether the number rolled is the minimum you needed to exceed or less than the number. Whenever you use it, you gain a level of exhaustion. Only by finishing a long rest can you remove that level of exhaustion. And last, but certainly not least, is Gravitory Magic, which is also created by the Critical Role Team. This is where you are bending gravity. You are bending different types of arcane magic to manipulate the energy of gravity. As an action, you can alter the weight of an object or a creature within 30 feet of you. The object or creature must be sized large or smaller. The target's weight is halved or doubled up to 1 minute, or until your concentration ends. While the weight of the creature is half, they have an increased speed of 10 feet. They can jump twice as normal, and they have disadvantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. If it's doubled, their speed is reduced by 10, and they have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. When you reach level 10, the target of an object or creature that you can choose can be huge or smaller. Next, whenever you cast a spell on a creature, you can move the target 5 feet to an unoccupied space of your choice if the target is willing to move, or if the spell hits the attack, or if it fails a saving throw against the spell. Whenever you see another ally within 60 feet of you hit with a weapon attack, you can increase the velocity of the attack to make them deal an extra d10 of damage. Alternatively, if the creature is in 60 feet of you takes damage from falling, you can increase the fall's damage by 2d10 to increase their velocity of falling. You can use it a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. And lastly, as an action, creatures for up to a minute or until your concentration ends. The creatures must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, they'll take 2d10 force damage. Their speed will be reduced until the end of their next turn. On a succeed save, they'll take half as much, and every foot they move, it takes 2 extra feet to move. And that's everything with the Wizard class. In my opinion, I'm a huge fan of Wizard. Wizard is one of my favorite classes, other than Rogue, I believe. Yes, they do focus more on spells. They are squishy, so they can die very quickly, but there are certain subclasses where you can instead be a buffy wizard and not just a very skinny old man wizard where you could probably die in a couple hits. In my opinion, if you are very well rounded with D&D, or if you really want to try it, because one of my friends tried Wizard for the first time and he kind of he figured out his way around it. It is very fun. In my opinion, I would give this class a 7.5 out of 10. Yes, it is good. I do love it. But you are going to be squishy. You are going to be focusing more on spells than actual being up close and personal. So if you don't want to be a part of that, you can pick a different class. That is completely fine. So, before I go, I must do a couple of shoutouts. Firstly, we're going to switch it up real quick, is Hope K Thrifts. She resells a bunch of trendy items to focus and sustain on the environment in a cheap and fashionable way. So all those trendy brands like Free People, Converse, Lululemon, and so much more. Everything that she sells is only $20 or less. So you're already getting a massive steal from her. You can find her at Poshmark, Depop, Mercari, Instagram at Hope K Thrifts, and if you want a bit more discount, you can message her at Cheap Thrifts so you can get 10% off at your next purchase. So only $20 or less for each item and a 10% off? Pfft, sign me up. Next is Killer Mimic merch. Cody has his own website. It'll be in the description below, but he is selling beanies, sweatpants, t-shirts. There's a killer. I'm not going to say what kind of killer because I don't want to get in trouble. We have an old board game. Hint. I also am unsure if I'm allowed to say mousetrap. I might bleep that out. I don't know. Nah. Mousetrap. And there's different tarot cards designs that he has made himself as well. So check him out at Killer Mimic Merch on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Check out his website. He has a lot of nice stuff. And it is fairly cheap for what type of quality it is. Go check him out. And lastly, but certainly not least, it's ourselves. It's Creatures and Cantrips. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have a Reddit now. We got a Reddit. I somehow made a Reddit. Nothing is posted. I might post some stuff. If you guys ever have any questions or ideas that you want us to do or reviews or anything, send us a message on Instagram, on Facebook, on anything really. Like, share, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, talk to your mom, dad, brother, sister, uncle. Get the word out. We're coming up with something big. We're bringing another story to y'all's ears, and it won't be in this type of era. Make sure you wear some certain clothes, because there might be a bit of sand everywhere. Okay. Well, thank you all for listening. If you want to check out the Wizard School, you can. I'm not gonna force you. But, alrighty. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.